they just look me up on Steven Towers that's on Mixcloud, that's on SoundCloud, Instagram, just Steven Towers, OnlyFans, Feet Finder.
Yeah, they're the Feet Finder. Yeah.
Just kidding.
Oh, Twinkle Toes. Find me at Twinkle Toes on OnlyFans.
Like love, everything comes, everything goes, staying in my zone. Like love.
Yes, it's your boy Abdul-Salaam, aka Brother Jabril. And today's special guest is none other than Steven Towers, aka Esteban Torres. Welcome to the show, my man. How are you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me. Thanks.
Yeah, man. So just so the crowd knows, Esteban and I go back quite a while, probably, I guess, right when you first started making your way into the Houston house music scene.
Right.
We did kind of like not partnering, but accompanying events at the same venue a couple of times. And it turned out you knew a lot of the same people I knew from San Antonio.
Sure, yeah.
And so you've been kind of laying it down and being soulful out there in Houston for a while now. You got any shout outs to people?
Wow. My wife, of course.
Big shout out to Ramba.
Yeah. That's my wife, Jennifer. All my friends, my boys, Alex and Bobby, of course. My Praia partners. And gosh, everybody.
So to give a little bit of background as well on Steven Towers, his
either is fine.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I don't know which one to call you nowadays. Yeah. Superstar DJ Steven Towers. You need to add that one on there. Praia Urbana, huge event. I see behind you, you've got a lot of the events that you've done in the past. Huge success in Houston, bringing as well as keeping the house music sound alive out there. And got to give you your flowers for that as well. You've been doing this for a long time. It is sometimes a thankless venture sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's So why don't you introduce yourself to people, your DJ name, where you come from, a little bit about your background.
Yeah. So Steven Towers is my DJ name. Esteban Torres, that's my real name. And I actually used to go by that as my DJ name as well. And then transitioned over to Steven Towers under Esteban Torres. That name I did a lot of, that was pretty much when I was strictly soulful house, strictly, like that's all I did under that name. And then I changed it to Steven Towers because I started to change my music style. I added more elements of like tech house even, and I mean, to be honest, at that time period, I was starting to get a little bored, honestly, with the soulful house, spinning soulful house. I loved it, but what was coming out, what was being produced, I was just so bored with it. It was like nothing new. And then at Praia Urbana at that time, it was getting bigger and bigger, and then I was having to play in front of bigger crowds at the same time. And then the sound just wasn't working, an hour of soulful house in front of 2,000 people in Houston, where it's not the thing, it wasn't working, and what I had to do was incorporate elements of soulful house. And I did that under a new moniker, and that was Steven Towers. So, what I would do at that point was do elements of, tech house and Latin tribal house, even techno sometimes, and then incorporate soulful house in there too. So I would always try to get the crowd to Soulful House, to see as long as how long they could, how long it would take for them to get there, how long, and how long they could do it for. And it wasn't, it was hard, it wasn't easy to do that. But because I started incorporating those different sounds, that's why I changed the name. And so that's what it's, what it's become today. And then I found lately, the crowds are beginning to be more accepting of the soulful house sounds, where I don't have to play as much, tech house in the, in the sets. I can play more housey house, as I call it. And it works more than it used to, I'd say, than like 10 years ago. The last 3 or 4 years, it's been working a lot more, where I can play more of that in my sets. So it's definitely kind of coming full circle, I guess you could say, where I'm getting to play more of the stuff that I try to get the crowd into, if that makes sense. And so I always love it when I can play to a crowd where I can play a full soulful house set, play deep stuff, play funky stuff, and not have to, get the crowd there and then be able to play it, So
I think our sound always kind of evolves over time. It's one of the reasons why I kind of changed from just being Brother Jabril to the Jay-Salaam thing as well, because Brother Jabril was like, I was playing like a lot of like diva style, like screaming kind of house music, garage, just really funky stuff that was like more kind of like pitched up as well as loud and gospely. But we start to kind of, our sounds start to get kind of smoothed out a little bit into wanting to have our own sound, as opposed to like, I think a lot of times, well, not every time, but sometimes people start out like listening to the mixes and picking out cherry picking tunes that they want to play. And then that's just kind of the evolution of a DJ, over time. And you can change your name or not, but I definitely know that if people bring that up from time to time, like, oh man, you used to play more like, kind of like the Glitterbox style stuff. And I'm like, yes, it was for a time for sure.
Yeah, it's all good though. It's all good stuff,
So you're from San Antonio originally, right?
Family's originally from San Antonio.
Right.
So my father was in the military. So growing up, I was living in, different bases, different parts of the world, and lived in Japan when I was in high school. So that was kind of where musically things kind of developed for me. My parents always, in our house, my mother was always playing disco and old, stuff like that, old oldies,
Nice.
And my father was always listening. My stepfather was always listening to like reggae and things like the Clash and Jimi Hendrix. And then living in Japan, that's where the introduction to electronic music came. With that being like in the early 90s, very early 90s, you've got like KLF, remember them?
Oh yeah.
I was really into, also New Order, Depeche Mode, and that's all electronic. So, it all kind of comes together, I think. Most people who are into that music back at that time become more interested in house music because it has those similar elements. And, that's kind of the progression that I had as well, over there in Japan. And then, the first real like electronic music event that I went to, it wasn't even Soulful House. It was like, I got thrown into like Goa, psychedelic trance. That was my introduction to it. So I got thrown into the deep end real quick, and trying to swim.
Yeah.
I liked it though. It was I loved it, at the time. And then so that's when I was in Japan, came back to the US, started coming to, parties over here. And then that's my introduction to full on house, and I'm like, whoa, this is like way better. And to me, it made sense musically because, being American, our roots, our generation is hip hop,
Yep, exactly.
that's a big part of our music, and you can hear the hip hop elements in house music, of course. It's huge. It's bigger than we think. After Japan, I moved to Germany, and I remember hanging out with some German friends over there who, of course, into electronic music, and I brought like a tape that I had from San Antonio, that I recorded off the radio from it was DJ Rise's
Ah,
station.
shout out Leo Trujillo.
Yeah, good old Leo. And him and JJ. I don't remember if it was him DJing or somebody else on that show, but I played it for my German friends over there in Germany, and they were all jamming to it, and they were like, "This is like hip hop." And I was
What?
like, it didn't sound like hip hop at all to
Not
me
at all. Yeah.
because it was slower. They were doing probably like 120 beats per minute or something, or 121. They were like, "Wow, it's slower," and it's like hip hop, like the groove. And then I was like, "Okay, if you say so." But
I remember techno being huge in the 80s in Germany. I was still a kid.
yeah,
And I know you were probably a little bit older. You were probably a bit older than me when you were in Germany, but we were in Frankfurt, which was kind of the place where it started to kind of really make its impact. The American electronic music
yeah.
was making its impact there in Frankfurt. Where were you in Germany?
So I lived just out like a place kind of close to Munich. That's where I spent about 3 years. It was a place called Chiemsee. It was a resort run by it was American military resort in the Alps on a lake. And I was about 45 minutes from Munich, about
You had
30
a
minutes
tough
from
life, man.
Salzburg. It was alive. It was
Yeah,
great. It was
it was
great.
a tough life for you,
It was
man.
tough. I always tell people it was like college, but without the school, because everybody's young that worked there, but nobody had a class. Everybody just had to work. It
Oh, that's killer, man.
was cool. And so I would go to Munich all the time, to hang out. And then that's where I also started DJing at too, was at on that military hotel, because they had like a bar and like a little discotheque there. So that was my introduction to DJing, and where I had my first gig. And that's where I learned what I call the psychology of the dance floor, and learning, playing what it takes to rock the crowd, basically, to make them stay on the dance floor, to stay in the place, and keep drinking, and then to get more people on the dance floor, because I would start at like 7 p.m. and there'd just be a bunch of older people drinking, and my goal was always to get all those people to stay as long as possible, so that they'd stay there till 9, and then 10, and then my friends would come in around 11 or 12. So I'd start with like 70s rock, like Creedence Clearwater Revival, Santana, and then build it slowly into like 80s music, and then some disco later. And then my goal was always to get those older people to dance to house music, to get them there, to stay there long enough so they could be there when my friends came in, and then dance to house. So that's the psychology of the dance floor.
The
That's right.
psychology of the dance floor. I really like that, man. I like that a lot. So, what is it? I like to ask this of all the DJs that I interview. What is it that kind of drives you to be a DJ? Or actually, if you could complete the sentence, I DJ because, what would be your motivation? Why do you DJ? I DJ because why?
I DJ because I like to make people happy. I like to share music, and I like to see people have a good time.
That's nice. Really nice. For me, it's all about connection and
Mhm.
that psychology of the dance floor that you're talking about. Um, I like to think of things as like it's a metaphysical connection that you make with the crowd. So there's no tangible like it's just a
Mhm.
feeling, right, that
Yeah,
works.
yeah.
And as a kid, like I grew up with learning disabilities. I had tough trouble reading, trouble articulating myself. I
Mhm.
practiced being a master communicator. It's
Mhm.
one of the reasons why I like to do this is because it allows me to get better at listening, finding out more about people. But on top of that, music was the first communication that I ever learned that people were actually paying attention and it made sense, because
Yeah.
things got jumbled up in the can up here. So,
Mhm.
so yeah, that's the thing for me. So who would you say supported you the most through your musical journey? Who would you say that is? It could be a
I,
person, a place, an environment.
yeah, I would say my wife. She's been there
She's
through
a
the
house head, man.
yeah, she's a house head. She supported me so much, even that, when I would do all vinyl, she even helped me organize my records at sometimes, because I created this like system of like this color coded system to define, what was deep, um what was deep and soulful, what was vocal soulful, what was uplifting soulful. And so I had color codes for each one. And some were like 2 colors, some were not like 3 colors, others were only one, and some were green. So it was like green, pink, orange. So it was like this complicated color like format. I can even show you some of the records.
That's wild, dude.
And
That's so detailed.
let me grab one. I'm
Do
gonna
you
show
have
you.
OCD? Is that what it is?
A little bit.
Sitting up a certain way in
So
your.
okay, so this is
Oh my god, dude.
Ben Watt. Okay, so this means it's kind of blue is kind of deep. It's kind of uplifting, soulful.
That's
Um,
that's
this
funny.
one's a Fred Everything track. So yellow and orange is San Fran House, like San Francisco House.
Yeah, that West Coast sound.
So here's the thing. So when I was DJing, I knew what I was looking for in my record, in my records, and I was like flipping through them. It made it like so much quicker just doing it that way. And then when it came to selecting records for a night, I just went to, if I wanted uplifting soulful, I'd go to all of the records that had the markings for it, and then I'd pick out of there. So I knew exactly what I was looking for and where to find it. So it just made it easier. I
I
think that's a
like
big
that.
part of things too with DJing is, how well organized you are.
So did she help you kind of develop that? Is that what you were kind of
No,
alluding to?
I developed it, but she helped me like these are just like sticky pads,
Right.
like post-it notes. So
I
she would
have
help.
like a ton
But
of those in my office. They're like all
you got to
different
organize
colors.
those records back there like this.
Yeah, exactly.
I can give
I
you
need
my
it. Yeah. This
I
this
give,
is a mess right now, but it's a beautiful mess. I know
yeah.
exactly where everything is.
Only you know where it's all at.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if somebody tried to come in here and steal all my house, they would have to take a while to get through the house, the
Yeah,
reggae, all the hip hop, everything that's kind of mixed in here. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Except for maybe my disco. My disco is all like up here on the top.
Yeah, so okay, so now I know where to grab it from.
Give away my secrets. Damn it. So what's your creative process like, man? I mean, you're a very creative person. You have a creative mind, and as well you have a mind for throwing some epic events, man. I mean, I got to give you your flowers on that. Over the years, just watching you guys do these just amazing parties, what would you say is kind of the secret sauce to throwing a successful event in a market like Houston that has typically a tough time with either soulful house music or even real house music has been,
Yeah.
a tough one in Houston? What would you say if you had to boil it down, a few points to make a successful event happen there?
Yeah, I would say our recipe has kind of been having something for everybody. Trying to, trying to mix, like typically like we'll have a like a tech house artist, but then also like a soulful artist on the other stage, and that's been a good recipe. Also with the locals doing the same thing too, having a good mix of DJs, not being too focused on one. Although, with Houston, the focus is mainly tech house. It really, really is. It always has been. For some reason in the city, they like the darker stuff, like the more progressive and harder hitting, things, for some reason. and they have a hard, like you said, they have a harder time digesting Soulful House. And so we've had to kind of have a balance, with locals and headliners. But that's what we've done, and what's helped us be successful with our events, for sure.
A particular time of day where you feel the most creative, or the feel that you can get the most done in when you're thinking in terms of creative ventures?
I get the most ideas, I would say, when I'm driving. When I'm driving, listening to music, I'll hear a song, I'll be like, okay, that would go great with this song, or this would be a great, remix, or, one song makes me start thinking about another song, and it's kind of like that. And so that's when I think I feel the most creative, when I'm driving. It's kind of weird, and I'll have to like, I'll come up with ideas, and I have like a music notes page on my or notes section on my phone, where I just have to type in whatever creative idea I have, because I know that by the time I get to my destination, I'm gonna forget it. So like, stoplight, okay, here's my idea, type it. So, but yeah, definitely when I'm driving, that's when I get the most creative thoughts.
Do you ever listen to you put out a few mixes? Do you ever listen to your mixes before you put them out?
I always do.
Always.
Always. And I honestly don't post most of my mixes, because I just don't like them. I'll have one error where I'm just like, that was horrible. That was just horrible.
Oh
And
yeah.
for me, I feel like I always have mistakes in my sets. It's just, I mean, I think I take chances, maybe a little too often. And then the thing is, with taking chances, either it's a beautiful, amazing thing, or it just you crash and burn,
Doesn't work, right?
Yeah. And I think the sets where I posted them, it's where I wasn't really taking chances, and I was just kind of playing it safe, and maybe just focusing on, okay, this is going to be a mix, I'll post. But I feel like sometimes I'll have like an amazing, like really cool set with some chances I took that turned out great, but then I'll have a couple of flops, when I'm just like, this part's great, it's amazing, but then this other part, it's like, oh, I can't put that out there because it's too, choppy, or it could be something as simple as somebody came up to talk to me, and then it just threw things off there, and then it was just like, oh man, why'd you come talk to me?
I'm lucky enough to have like my own office space, kind of like I guess what you have there.
Yeah.
And I put this little on air sign on. And
Mm-hmm.
when I'm working a mix, like
Yeah.
Julieta will come in and she'll
Mm-hmm.
be like, stop at the door, and it'll just leave, just because I know
You'll see the sign,
she
the sign.
knows. Yeah. I get I get to the point where like I get really obsessive about it. So like I'll make the mix, I'll upload it to Mixcloud on the back end, and
Yeah.
then I'll listen to it in the car, and then I'll just be like, I'll tear it apart. I mean, people may tear apart my mixes all the time, but dude, I destroy myself. I'm like, nah, that's stupid. Why would you do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I go back. I mean, music is love, right? Like, but at the same time, like I want when I'm trying to make a point, like my radio show things that I do, they're just to put things together to present the music that's new. But when I do mixes are like I want people who are thinking a little bit deeply into music to understand what I'm saying, as
Yeah.
opposed to just like, I mean, don't get me wrong, everything that I like to play, I feel is really cool music, but I
Mm-hmm.
want to kind of like piece it together to
Uh-huh.
tell a story. Kind of like, what the legend is about, Body and Soul and those guys actually playing music that they're trying to speak to the crowd. I'm trying to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what do you think? So I'll preface this because it's kind of a deep question. I will say for me, music has taught me a lot about my inner self, like how I feel about certain sounds and how I feel about how music can allow me to be more free in expression. There's no pretense when I'm listening to music or I'm playing music. I just kind of let myself go. I'll jump in the air and like play music and be kind of wild, and I feel enough freedom to do that. That's what I feel music has taught me about myself. What do you think that music has taught you about yourself?
I think it's taught me that I am a creative person. I never really thought that about myself. I didn't really ever think I had any music ability. That didn't ever think I had anything to share either. So I think it's kind of made me realize that I do have something to share. I do have music ability, and I also have the ability to make people have fun, have a good time, and just dance. you know and that's one of the things I'm thankful for too, is that it's helped me realize that, and that it's helped me you know help other people have a good time at our events and our shows, and when I'm DJing too. Yeah.
I think for a lot of people who come, I think that a lot of people come to us as DJs and as promoters and artists for our sound, for what we present, what it is that we like to play. They come to us to release and get rid of the bullshit that happens in your head Monday through Friday.
Hmm.
And so we have a special charge to kind of not just be pretentious, not just be like this cool guy on the stage and playing, music that everybody knows. It's more like let's have a good time listening to music that you may or may not know, but just be entertained by somebody who is really passionate about this music. I think I mean, and don't discount yourself, man. You're a creative person, even though you may, or I don't know if you create music yourself, but like, even if you're not a producer, we're producing an atmosphere for people. And I think I find you to be one of those people that I admire as a creative mind, as a DJ. And so yeah, don't discount that, man. You definitely got the skills for sure.
Thanks. And I think it's important to be serious too, with what we're doing. Never take it for granted that the crowd, the people that are there to hear you, and always to put your best foot forward, and prepare too. I always prepare a lot, probably a little too much. I don't have my sets planned out. I'll have the songs that I want to play, and some will go good with others. Like, okay, that one goes good with this one. I know that. And then just let it organically happen. But always make sure I know, like, just kind of, some of the songs I want to play and kind of what direction I want to take things to.
I think it's important not to line up your tracks the way you're going to play them in a night, because who knows what could happen. Um, we all
Yeah.
somewhat DJ by feel, and
Hmm.
so when you put everything kind of lock everything into a playlist, that makes it a little bit easier for us to just kind of just throw a bunch of
Yeah.
tracks
Yeah.
in and go, yeah, I love this, this is going to be
Hmm.
my idea. Like I'm just basically creating a palette, like on a painter's palette, creating a palette to use all these colors in the evening. I'm not sure what I'm going to play exactly, but let's
Hmm.
just throw it all in. And
Yeah.
that way it feels more organic. You get to really kind of, okay, I'm kind of feeling this. Let's play some gospel, or I'm
Hmm.
feeling this. Let's play something real sexy and deep, and yeah, I love that. Houston is a very special place, man. It's a place that I learned what electronic music really should be like. I think that there's a ton of very talented people, and you definitely are one of those people. So I'm really glad to be a part of something like Exposure, um,
Hmm.
and then also able to bring in those people that I feel best represent what is great house music in Houston. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing you. And we're celebrating your birthday. How old
Yeah,
are you?
yeah.
Is it your 10th annual 30th birthday?
It
What,
says
what are
my
we doing?
33rd, my 33rd birthday. Oh yeah,
What would you
I'm
say is your best year? What was your best year? What age was that?
oh wow.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a tough one. Oh man. Whew. I know 21 was good. That was good.
Yeah, look
Yeah.
at that smile. Mine was 26, man. 26 for
26.
me
Okay.
was, yeah,
Okay.
that was the year, bro. That was the year. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, 21 was.
Long ass time ago.
I mean, I've had a lot of good years since then, but that one just a lot of memories, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So tell people how they find out about you. You got any websites? You got
Um,
anything you want to promote?
so they can just look me up on Stephen Towers that's on Mixcloud, that's on same on SoundCloud, Instagram, just Stephen Towers, OnlyFans, Feet Finder.
Yeah, they're the feet finder. Yeah.
Just kidding, just kidding.
Oh, Twinkle Toes. Find me at Twinkle Toes on OnlyFans. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for taking your time to interview with me. We're looking forward to having you out April 26th in Houston
Yes.
for Exposure.
I'm
That's gonna be
looking
fun.
forward to it. Yeah, I can't wait. I'm pretty stoked about it. So yeah,
Yeah, man.
yeah,
Yeah, we're gonna have a good time, bro.
yeah.
All
Awesome.
right. Well, peace out. Thanks for your time, man.
Thank you.
Like everything comes, everything goes, staying in my zone. Make love to my mind first, a business thirst, before desire is gone.